2 weeks ago, Portugal signed a new law that doubles the amount of time it takes for an American to apply for citizenship here. If you're an American who's been living in Portugal for 4 years, thinking you're 1 year away from a Portuguese passport, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not. The clock has been reset. And if you're still back in the States thinking about moving here, you need to know what you're getting into before you get on that plane. My name's Dennis. I've lived in Portugal for over 4 years. I wrote the book on moving to Portugal, literally. It's on Amazon. I see people on Facebook and chat rooms all the time saying, moving to Portugal is a bureaucratic nightmare, the system is overloaded, applications are getting rejected, it takes forever. And I get why people feel that way. But for me, it was actually pretty easy and hassle-free. And despite all the recent changes in the immigration law, it can still be that way for you too. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to walk you through the process of moving to Portugal, what's changed and what's stayed the same. All the steps for how to get a visa and what the process actually looks like from someone who did it himself without a lawyer or a relocation advisor, just a checklist and a lot of patience. I'm also going to tell you what the new citizenship law means for every American in Portugal right now. And something most videos won't tell you, why citizenship may not even be the goal you should be chasing. So let's get into it. Moving here to live is a two-step process. You first have to get a visa that allows you to stay in this country for 4 months, and then during that time, apply for a residency permit that's good for 2 years before you have to renew it for another 3. But let's start with the news, because if you have any skin in the game, if you're already here or seriously planning to come, this affects you directly. Portugal's new nationality law was signed on May 3rd, 2026. Here's what's changed for Americans. Under the old law, you needed 5 years of legal residency before you could apply for Portugal's citizenship. 5 years. That was a commitment, but it was manageable. Under the new law, it's 10 years, double the amount of time. And it's not grandfathered. That's the part that's sending shockwaves and anger through the expat community right now. If you've been here 4 years and we're counting down to your citizenship application, the clock has been reset. You're not picking up from year 4, you're starting over from year 0. Now there are some nuances worth knowing. EU citizens and people from the former Portuguese colonies, Brazilians, Angolans, Mozambicans, they get a slightly better deal, 7 years instead of 10. But for Americans, Canadians, and Brits, it's 10 years. There's also a new test requirement to get citizenship. It's not just the Portuguese language test anymore. They've added a Portuguese history and culture knowledge test on top of it, although it's not really clear what that test entails. But you'll need to know the language and the history. And one more thing that's subtle but important. Under the new rules, the 10-year clock starts when your residency permit is actually issued, not when you arrive in Portugal on your visa. Given that EMA, Portugal's immigration agency, is currently running 6 to 12 months behind on processing applications, the time you spend waiting in bureaucratic limbo before you get your residency permit doesn't count toward your 10 years. On a personal note here, a few years after I came over, I married a Portuguese citizen, which under the previous law allowed me to apply for citizenship after only 3 years rather than 5. From what I've heard, that pathway is still intact under the new law, but I haven't been able to confirm it yet. When I do, I'll let you know in a follow-up video. If you're in a similar situation, it's a good idea to consult with a Portuguese immigration attorney before making any decisions or any plans. Don't rely on Facebook group for this one. Okay, so before I go any further, I want to stop and address something, because I think the new citizenship law is causing a lot of unnecessary panic. And the reason is that most people are confusing two very different things: citizenship and the right to stay in Portugal permanently. They're not the same thing. Now, I personally haven't seriously considered applying for citizenship. My plan has always been simple: renew my residency permit, apply for permanent residency after 5 years, and just live here indefinitely. Portugal's my home. I don't need a passport to prove that. So let me tell you what permanent residency actually means, because this is the finish line for most Americans, and the new citizenship law doesn't touch it at all. After 5 continuous years of legal residence in Portugal, you can apply for a permanent residence permit. Here's what changes when you do that. Right now, on a temporary permit, I have to renew my residency every 2 to 3 years. It means providing full documentation, income proof, the same process I went through to get over here in the first place that we'll talk about in a minute. With permanent residency, that drops to a simple card renewal every 5 years. No income proof required, no financial statements, no accommodation documents. You just update your card. It's more like renewing a driver's license than reapplying for permission to live in your own home. The only things you can't do as a permanent resident that a citizen can is vote in national elections, hold public office, and travel on a Portuguese passport. For most Americans who moved here for the lifestyle, the weather, the food, the safety, and the quality of life, permanent residency is the finish line. It's not a consolation prize. One thing to know, to qualify, you'll need to demonstrate the A2 level Portuguese language proficiency. That's basic conversational Portuguese. After 4 or 5 years here, most residents are well past that, although I'm still struggling. But it's worth knowing now, so you're not surprised later. The new 10-year citizenship rule changed the timeline for a passport. It didn't change your right to live here permanently. Those are two different conversations, and I think it's important to separate the two. Okay, one more thing before we get into the visa process, and I want to address it because I've been getting some pushback about it from Portuguese friends and neighbors. I use the word expat a lot. It's in the channel name. It's how most Americans describe themselves when they move abroad. But many Portuguese people prefer the word immigrant, and they have a point. The argument is expat gets applied almost exclusively to people from wealthy Western countries moving for lifestyle reasons, while people doing the exact same thing from Brazil or Mozambique or Cape Verde get called immigrants. Same act, different word, different implied social status. And given what's happening to housing costs in Lisbon and Porto, there's real frustration behind it. I'm not going to stop using the word. It's what my audience searches for, and it does carry a specific practical meaning. But I think anyone planning to move to Portugal owes it to themselves and to their new home country to think about why some people object to the word expat. We're all immigrants here. Some of us just arrived with more choices than others. I'll do a full video on this topic soon. It deserves more than a paragraph, but I wanted to point it out now. Okay, now let's talk about how you actually get here legally in the first place. I get asked this a lot. How did you do it? Was it expensive? How much of a hassle is it? I have to say, for me, it was all pretty straightforward and smooth. It all happened without a hitch. Of course, this was 4 years ago, and there's been many changes since, and because many more people are making the move, it's caused a huge backlog and delays in processing applications. But the basic process of moving to Portugal legally remains the same. The first question you need to answer before you do anything else is this one. Is your income passive or active? That single question tells you which visa you need. If your income is passive, if it comes from Social Security, a pension, investments, dividends, rental income, you need the D7 visa. It's designed for retirees and people who don't expect to work while they're living here. The minimum monthly income requirement for a D7 visa is 920 euros for a single person, about 1,070 US dollars at current exchange rates. For a couple, that goes up to 1,380 euros a month. Now, there are other types of visas available, but the D7 is the most popular one for Americans moving to Portugal. I didn't come on the D7, I came on the D8, the digital nomad visa, and that's a different animal. The D8 is for people who are still actively working remotely as a freelancer, a contractor, a content creator, a consultant. The income requirement is significantly higher, 3,680 euros per month as of 2026. That's roughly 4,270 US dollars a month. And they'll want to see it consistently, 3 to 6 months of bank statements, tax returns, showing it coming in. There's a trade-off. The D8 typically processes faster, sometimes 4 to 8 weeks, compared to several months for the D7. I'm a semi-retired writer and content creator. I came here on the D8 because my income is active. But whether you're looking at the D7 or the D8, I'll walk you through the process from direct personal experience. Okay, one more pause before I walk you through the actual steps. I promise, this is the last one. Here are 3 pieces of advice that only come from living here, not from government websites. First, before you decide to move here, visit Portugal at least twice and come in different seasons, summer, winter, or fall. Stay in Lisbon, but take day trips, Cascais, the Silver Coast, Alentejo. Go to Porto. The country you see in August and the country you experience in January are 2 different things, and you want to make sure you love both of them. Second, join the many Facebook expat groups, but read them skeptically. Groups like Expats in Portugal and Moving to Portugal provide a lot of useful information, but keep in mind there's a lot of misinformation in there too. Outdated advice, and lately I've been seeing a lot of negative anti-immigration comments. Third, rent before you buy. Don't buy property the moment you arrive. Portugal has some quirks that don't show up in the listings. A lot of homes don't have central heating. Insulation can be poor, which not only means cold rooms, but in an apartment, noisy neighbors. Black mold is a real issue in some areas due to humidity. You can find a beautiful place online and regret it the minute you move in. Come here, rent for 6 months to a year, get to know the neighborhoods, and then decide. All right, let's get into the actual steps. How to apply for a visa and move to Portugal. I'm going to walk you through this exactly as I did it, with the real costs and the real hiccups. Step number 1, get your NIF. The NIF is the single most important first step, and most Americans don't realize you can do it from home without ever coming to Portugal. A NIF is the Portuguese equivalent of a Social Security number, except it's used in almost every transaction here. Opening a bank account, signing a lease, getting utilities connected, even buying groceries. You can't function in Portugal without one. The good news? You can get it online through a fiscal representative. I used Eurofinesco, but there are others. Border, Novomove, Get NIF Portugal. Shop around because the fees vary. I paid 135 euros and got mine within days. Do this first. Do it now, even if you're months away from applying for your visa. The NIF unlocks everything else. Step number 2, open a Portuguese bank account. Once you have your NIF, open a Portuguese bank account and put as much money in it as you can reasonably manage. There's no hard legal requirement for a specific savings balance, but here's the practical reality. Showing AIMA that you have roughly 12 months of income equivalent on deposit makes your application significantly stronger. It tells the immigration officer that you won't be a burden to the Portuguese government. For a D7 applicant, that's around 11,000 euros. For a D8 applicant, you're looking at considerably more given the higher income requirement. Think of it not as a requirement, but as the difference between a solid application and an airtight one. You can open a bank account online through some of the NIF services or in person, as I did, but I'll be honest, I couldn't have navigated the paperwork without a Portuguese-speaking friend next to me. It took me hours. For transferring money from the US, use an app called Wise. It's the best exchange rate I've found. It's simple and fast. Just be aware, the dollar is weak. You'll lose money on the transfer. At the current exchange rate, $1 buys you about 85 euro cents. So $11,600 gets you less than 10,000 euros. Factor that into your planning. Step number 3, book your appointment with VFS Global early. You'll need to have an in-person interview with VFS Global, the company that handles visa applications on behalf of the Portuguese consulate in the United States. They have offices in New York, Miami, Houston, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., where I applied. There are also consulate offices in Boston, New Bedford, and Providence. But here's the mistake I see many people make. They wait until they have all their documents ready before they book their appointment. Don't do that. Book your appointment now, before you have everything ready. Because the wait for a slot may be several weeks, if not months, depending on the time of year. You can gather your documents while you wait. You can book your appointment on the VFS Global website. Step number 4, gather your documents. This is where applications succeed or fall apart. Let me go through each one with the real details. First, fill out the National Visa Application Form. It's available on the VFS Global website. The link is in the description. You'll also need 2 recent passport-style photos. I got mine at CVS. Your passport has to be valid for at least 6 months before the end of your 4-month residency visa, so check the expiration date right now. You'll need proof of financial means. As I mentioned, for a D7 visa, you'll need to show 920 euros per month for a single person. And you can download your Social Security confirmation letter directly from the ssa.gov website. For the D8 visa, it's 3,680 euros per month. You'll need to show bank statements, tax returns, and potentially client contracts or invoices showing that income is consistent and comes from outside Portugal. You'll need health insurance. You need a temporary policy covering at least 30,000 euros in medical expenses, valid across the entire Schengen area, not just Portugal. Cigna Global is one of the biggest providers. And don't forget, keep your Medicare current for when you visit the US. It doesn't work here, but you want to be covered for any medical emergencies when you go back home. You'll need a criminal background check from the FBI. This costs $18 online. You'll need to submit fingerprints with it, and your local post office can do that electronically. The FBI mails it back to you in a plain manila envelope. And this is the detail I love telling people. Don't open the envelope. I'm serious. It has to be submitted to VFS Global sealed, exactly as the FBI sent it, or it'll get rejected. I wanted to open mine like it was a cable bill, but don't do that, even if you really want to see what they turned up. And I guess it goes without saying, your criminal record has to be pretty clean to get approved. Minor offenses, even minor drug offenses, might not disqualify you, but any crime that required jail time is probably going to keep you out of coming to Portugal. You have to write a personal statement. You'll need a signed letter explaining why you want to live in Portugal, what area, whether you're renting or buying. It doesn't need to be long, but write it honestly, from the heart. The people reading these are human beings who appreciate authenticity. You'll also need proof of accommodation. Now, this is the trickiest one. You have to have a place to live in Portugal before you apply. You'll need to submit a signed 12-month lease or property purchase document with your application. The catch is that VFS Global takes your passport during processing, which means you can't leave the United States. And since processing can take 2 or 3 months or more, you could be paying rent in 2 countries while you wait. I actually found a way around this when I came over that I talk about in my book, but it's an option that's probably not open to most people. There are a couple of other workarounds though. Portugal may, and I stress may, accept a 6-month Airbnb booking if you commit in writing to securing a 12-month lease after you arrive. But this varies by consulate, and the rules have gotten stricter, so it may not work. Another option, if you have a friend or a family member already living in Portugal, they can sign a term of responsibility, a notarized document where they accept legal responsibility for your accommodation. I actually did this for my cousin recently who moved to Fatima. It worked. She got her visa approved, came over here, and found an apartment after she got here. But verify the current rules with your specific consulate before counting on either option. Sometimes it just depends on the person doing the interview. Once your visa arrives in the mail, along with your passport, you're cleared to come to Portugal, the moment you've been waiting for. When you arrive, your residency visa is good for 4 months. During that window, you need to get your residency permit with an in-person meeting with EMA. Your visa should include a date and time for that appointment. If it doesn't, book it through the EMA website. The link is in the description. The appointment with EMA is essentially a repeat of your VFS application, same documents, same paperwork. After everything is approved, you'll get your residency permit, which is good for 2 years and renewable for another 3. Once you have your residency permit, you can register with Portugal's National Health Service, the SNS. Public health care is available at low or no cost once you're a registered resident. Many expats, many immigrants, also carry private insurance for faster access to specialists. I use MGEN. There's one rule that catches a lot of D8 digital nomads off guard. To maintain your residency status, you can't be outside Portugal for more than 6 consecutive months or more than 8 non-consecutive months over the course of your 2-year permit. The D8 is not some get your mail here and travel the world visa. You actually need to live here. And given that it's now a 10-year road to citizenship, that's worth thinking carefully about before you commit. So let's come back to where we started, the new citizenship law. And I want to give you a clear-eyed picture depending on where you are right now in the process. Scenario 1, you haven't moved yet. You're still in the US, still deciding. Here's what you need to know. The goalposts have moved, but the game is still worth playing. 10 years is a long time, sure, but consider what you're getting. A life in one of the safest, most beautiful, most affordable countries in Western Europe, access to the entire EU, world-class healthcare at a fraction of the American costs, and at the end of 10 years, if you want it, a Portuguese passport that opens 186 countries without a visa. And remember, you don't have to want citizenship to make this work. Permanent residency after 5 years may be all you need. So start the clock. Scenario 2, you're already here, 1 to 3 years in. Now, I know this is frustrating. You did everything right. You built a life here, and the rules changed underneath you. They pulled the rug out from under you. But here's the honest reality. You're still earlier in the journey than most people who are just now discovering Portugal. And for some of you, those married to Portuguese citizens like me, those with Portuguese ancestry, your pathway may be different. Get a lawyer. Get the current answer for your specific situation, not the general answer. And ask yourself the deeper question. Is Portugal still worth it regardless of the citizenship? For most people I know here, the answer is definitely yes. Scenario 3, you were close, 4 years in, thinking you were a year away from citizenship. This is the hardest scenario, and I won't sugarcoat it. The lack of a grandfather clause is a genuine injustice to the people who made the major life decision based on the law as it existed. If this is you, my advice is 2 things. First, get a qualified Portuguese immigration attorney immediately. There may be constitutional challenges to the retroactivity clause, and this legal story is still developing. Second, ask yourself whether you want to stay regardless of the citizenship timeline. Because if Portugal is your home, whether or not you ever held that passport, then the law changed the timeline, but it didn't change the life you've built. And as I said earlier, 5 years of continuous residency gets you permanent residency, which lets you stay here indefinitely, without the renewal gauntlet, without income requirements, without proving yourself over and over again to AMA. That clock hasn't changed. And for most of us, that's the real goal anyway. Portugal is still one of the best decisions I've ever made. I wake up every morning in Carcavelos, 2 minutes from the Atlantic Ocean, in a country where the food is extraordinary, the people are genuinely warm, and the pace of life actually makes sense to me. The rules are a little harder now than when I arrived. The citizenship timeline is longer, but the life, the actual daily life here, hasn't changed. If you want the complete picture, every step, every form, every fee that I paid, every workaround I used, it's all in my book, Olá Portugal, Why I Moved to the Land of Sunshine and Sardines, and How You Can Too. The link is in the description below. And if this video helped you, please subscribe. I put out honest, practical content about life in Portugal almost every week. No hype, just reality. And one last thing, drop a comment and tell me, where are you in your process? Are you still dreaming back home? Are you already living here? How upset are you by the new citizenship law? I want to know. I'm trying to build a real community, and your comments help drive my videos. I'm Dennis. Thanks for watching. Ate logo. See you soon.